Why are farmers in competition with each other? I saw a comment on a video I was watching yesterday, and essentially the comment was, and the video was about the dude was basically explaining how, like, the USDA, you have to have a full-time inspector in the processing facility in order to get your meat cut into retail cuts, and then once it's cut into retail cuts and inspected, then you can get the stamp and sell it for retail. But because a lot of these USDA plants are so few and far between in these rural areas, they wind up having to drive 150, 200 miles or circumvent the USDA inspection process altogether in order to get their products into their customers' hands. But the comment was, why don't the farmers just band together and build their own processing facility within the area, given the fact that there's such a large demand for processors that are USDA inspected? And that way you could basically split the cost of building the facility, split the cost of employing a USDA inspector, and you'll have access to a processor whenever you need it, or at least one that's within a closer distance. And it goes back to my original question where I feel like there's enough demand for grass-fed, grass-finished, grass-fed, grain-finished beef in the world and in most rural and further out areas, metropolitan areas, that you could probably get away with having a small facility where maybe you process 1 to 2 cows a day, and you have enough storage space to hang them for the allotted amount of time that you need to hang them in order for them to actually relax and not be stiff. And you could do that year round and not have to really worry about traveling a whole lot. You could probably cut your costs a significant amount. Then on top of that, because of the demand that a lot of these beef producers have, where they're like, hey, we need a place to take our grass-fed, grass-finished beef, then you can basically take it to the one up the street rather than driving 150, 200 miles, and that'll help decentralize some of the process. Because again, like I've said before, the more we centralize these processing plants, whenever there's a breakout of some kind of disease or some kind of infection or some kind of bacterial thing going on, that affects a larger number of people versus if I have it broken up into multiple different smaller processors, then at that point, I am breaking up the parasite chain, so to speak, because this place might be infected with something, but the other place won't. And that question even goes beyond just the meat processors. Like, why don't they have their own grocery stores? Why aren't farmers really doing the job of becoming the next Walmart, but for small farmers? And that way you can cut some of your costs because you're not necessarily trying to compete with each other. You're coming up with a reasonable cost that gets you in the black, that gets you your profit margin, but it doesn't go so high that it destroys basically the market that you're trying to get into. Y'all tell me if I'm crazy or not. It makes sense to me.